2020, Global Dorms was contracted by the government to be a safe haven for those in need. Most of the individuals living there have lost their jobs or are working reduced hours as a result of the COVID pandemic. And while several heads of households have been assigned case managers to work on getting out of the dorms, there are still more people checking in. 23-year-old Chersi Yoisi and her husband have been staying at the Global Dorms shelter since January. They previously lived with her in-laws, but after a domestic dispute, they decided to leave.
My other half, I don't know, something happened. He got mad at his sister, I guess, and he wanted to leave, so we left. We went to Jigo and we stayed at some kind of farm.
After spending 2 weeks at a Jigo ranch, Chersi decided it was time to move on. She describes her experience staying at Global Dorms.
The staffs were great. They were all nice and stuff. They helped us a lot. So they put us on 14 days quarantine. After the 14 days, we got out and my other half finally started working again.
Both Chersi and her husband were working before the pandemic, but the island-wide shutdown ended up costing her her job and more.
I was working at Ross, Dress for Less, and then it shut down, and then I lost my car, and now it's hard for me to get another job.
But Chersi and her husband aren't completely alone in the dorms.
Actually, my mom is here too. Yeah, she's being sheltered here too. She's been here for a week. She's still in quarantine, so she cannot come out.
Thanks to the support provided through the Global Dorm staff, she says things are starting to get back to normal and they're finally getting back on their feet. Chersi says the next step they're looking forward to is gathering the proper documentation to apply for wraparound services and eventually get a place of their own. Legislation has been introduced that will require anyone wanting to run for public office to take a drug test. With a closer look, here's Peter Santos.
It's interesting that when you're running for senator or elected positions, you have to get police clearance and you have to get court clearance. They want to clear you of felonies and they also want to look at your finances. But there's no question about drug testing for elected officials.
If you've ever turned in a GovGuam employment application, you're probably familiar with the seemingly inevitable nature of drug screening during the hiring process. And it may come as a bit of a surprise, but it turns out elected government officials play by a different set of rules. Bill 56-36, introduced by Minority Leader Senator James Moylan, is aiming to change that.
We're basically at war against illegal substances. So I say, if we're going to elect an official, then test them for drugs, right? Make sure we don't have any conflict. So when we make those tough decisions, that we can do it in the best interest of the public and we don't have any vices that we should be concerned of. We understand that as elected officials, you're entrusted by the public. The public is trusting you, right? And we had to hold that standard, especially when we're writing laws for senators.
In a press release sent out last week in reference to the Port Authority's drug policy, Moylan writes, quote, "The very individuals making these decisions and having these conversations are not held to the very standard as those employees in public service for whom we are making these decisions for," end quote. And with the bill's intention set to increase transparency from elected officials, you'd think it would be smooth sailing. But Moylan says this isn't the first time a measure like this is seeing the legislative floor.
Back in the 35th KUAM legislature, back in 2019, we did the same attempt. Then the situation, of course, with the majority was 10-5, and that bill didn't get far at all. This time, though, we have different dynamics in the 36th KUAM legislature with an 8-7, and we can see now we've had instances where an elected official was convicted of illegal dealings with substances, right? And I think that really hurt the public trust.
And he's hoping his colleagues this time around will help this bill get signed into law.
I would expect complete support. I sure hope so.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Peter Santos.
35-year-old Megan Christine Marie Ibanez Aguigui was arrested and charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance as a third-degree felony. According to court documents, police were called to a Talafofo residence where the resident was requesting Aguigui be removed. Aguigui left the residence but then returned and refused to leave. Police later found and arrested her. During a pat-down, police discovered a glass pipe with a bulbous end and frosty residue in Aguigui's pocket. The pipe residue tested presumptive positive for methamphetamine. In district court, Evan Daniel Montville Cohen's trial may not occur for at least another 90 days. Assistant Federal Public Defender Brianna Kotke stated the defense plans to file both pre-trial and trial motions. For this reason, they requested approximately 90 days to prepare the motions. The government did not object, and the court granted the request, setting the motion to cut off for 3 months from now. Montville Cohen faces aggravated identity theft and wire fraud charges for allegedly using one of his employees' personal information to rent an apartment in Tamuning in 2019. He was picked up by the feds in March of last year. In court this morning, the government also noted there will likely be off-island witnesses brought forward to testify, meaning they need to ensure the witnesses are available to go through quarantine. We should note the defendant remains on pre-trial release. Magistrated Judge Michael Bordalio will order a trial date in the coming weeks. Jose Vincent Aguelto Navarro and Steve Soriano Sandoval were each charged with theft as a second-degree felony and criminal trespass as a misdemeanor. Sandoval's theft charge also came with a notice of felony committed while on felony release. According to court documents, on February 9, police received a report of a theft in progress at a Tamuning apartment. A witness saw two men loading air conditioning units into a red Dodge Dart. Police later spotted the car near the former Goodwill in Tamuning. They saw the male passenger exit the car but duck out of sight when they saw the police officers. The driver was still in the car and yelled, "Get in, Steve, don't listen to them." Sandoval was identified as the passenger while Navarro was the driver. The items stolen were one AC evaporating unit, approximately $600, and 9 boxes of tiles, approximate value of $1,500. If you've driven past Station 1 in Tamuning, chances are you've seen the new signage relative to fire danger. Forestry Chief Christine Farron says the Guam Department of Agriculture's Forestry Division, through a grant, was able to purchase supplies and equipment for the huge signs which indicate fire danger ratings. The ratings help assess the level of bushfire risk and decide what actions to take. The higher the fire danger rating, the more dangerous the fire conditions. She explains the collaborations between their division, the National Weather Service, and the Guam Fire Department.
What you see at the Tamuning Fire Station is this big, beautiful fire danger rating sign that will be updated, every day when the risk changes. And it has both an arrow that you can move around and individual signs. So from the road, it is so clear. I've been collaborating with Brandon over at the National Weather Office, and because Brandon's the fire weather program manager there. So during fire season, we communicate regularly. Every time there's a fire, Brandon, do you see it on your radar or on the screens?
Farron says enough material was purchased for all GFD stations as well as the Department of Agriculture so that the message is very visible to those in the community. However, when the pandemic hit, it has slowed the process of building and putting up signage at all the stations. She hopes to pick up where they left off soon, especially as the island heads into fire season. A virtual proclamation signing was held recognizing February as Career and Technical Education Month. The Association for Career and Technical Education is the nation's largest not-for-profit association committed to further education that preps youth and adults for successful careers. ACTE represents the community of career and technical education professionals, including educators, administrators, researchers, school counselors, guidance and career development professionals, and others at all levels of education. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio.
With that community involvement and for the efforts that all of you have been doing to make career technology education. Not everybody wants to go to college. But we need to make sure that everybody at least has a career or on the path for a good career.
I do think that our efforts to strengthen the economy, to rebuild it and recover from the pandemic, this is the right time to give focus and attention to this area, and a perfect time to recruit more students and more talent that we can harness and have them fully realize a very good life.
It was in 2015 that local dedicated CTE professionals helped form the Guam ACT-IN and is an associate member of the National ACTE. With the COVID-19 pandemic, it has elevated the importance and efforts of the National and Guam ACTE to support educators, administrators, and students through effective resources and best practices to help continue the education and training of all students for college and career readiness. Stay tuned. Next on Weekend Edition, we have Trend Spotting with Peter Santos, and still to come, the Guam Crime Stoppers Report.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Bring it. First time I saw you, you blew my mind. I got this feeling everything was alright. I've never known someone like you. But when I'm with you, everything feels brand new. You.
Social distancing may be the new norm, but connection will always be our tradition. Through good times and tough times, we remain connected with you. Masks may be the new fashion, but protection will always be our style. You can always count on us to protect the things that matter the most. Sanitizing may be the new routine, but caring will always be our practice. We care about your loved ones and the things you value the most. And as we welcome our new normal, one thing remains certain: we will always be here for you. We're open and ready to serve you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
Viva the weekend and happy Valentine's Day. Guam is getting back into its groove with the reopening of movie theaters and bingo halls. Plus, there was a verdict in an ongoing murder trial, so let's get to it. I'm Peter Santos, and here's your Trend Spotting report. Let's get to some of the good news that got us excited this week, first starting with the reopening of movie theaters. Alright, that actually happened at the end of last week, but with a giant hiccup, theaters weren't authorized to sell concessions under the executive order. And perhaps it was an oversight on Tango's part and maybe not the greatest communication with public health, but it put a wrench into the plans of the only theater reopening. Tango theater managers told KUAM that their bread and butter are hot dogs and popcorn. Essentially, concessions is where they make their money. Tango pushed through and reopened last Friday minus the nachos and raisinets. And just before Friday turned into Saturday, a public health guidance memo was released authorizing theater concessions starting at 8 a.m. on February 6th. Theaters, of course, are required to take all the necessary measures to keep their customers safe, including keeping everything sanitary and recording who comes and goes. And moviegoers are urged to practice the same safety measures, including wearing masks, except when eating. Over social media, viewer Vanji San Nicolas said, "It's about time." And Lisa Iriarte Kenga Tudela said, "See, all we had to do was be patient." And for those who have been patiently waiting for a chance to go to bingo, that activity was also authorized over the weekend. We got wind of the return of the Mangilao Senior Center's bingo nights on Mondays and Wednesdays. Of course, seating is limited and everyone must follow public health guidelines. We took a poll and asked you whether public health should allow bingo halls to reopen. 31% of you said yes, while a whopping 69% of you said no. Now on to one of the biggest crime stories of the week. The verdict was guilty for Joshua Polacis, accused of murdering Keith Castro in the summer of 2019. After the defense rested, the jury went into swift deliberations, taking just 2 hours to convict Polacis in the shooting death. Over a trial that spanned nearly a month, witnesses testified to the events of July 28, 2019 that led to the shooting of Castro. Thomas Titano, who was also convicted for his part in the brutal assault, also testified, pointing at Polacis as the shooter. In the end, the verdict brought some closure to Castro's family, who've been waiting for justice. Castro's father, Peter Castro, attended the trial each day with a picture of his son in hand.
It is very painful, ma'am, but at least I'm very happy that justice has been served, and that's all I want to do here. The only thing that I don't know really what's the motive that they killed him, but at least the justice was served that the murder is going to be behind bars for serving his time of the murder of my son.
Viewer Julianne Cruz shared her thoughts on the case. Truly a sad story. My condolences to the victim's family. Prayers for both families involved since both parties have been affected. The drug world has placed our island in turmoil. We need more programs to help those afflicted with drug use and stiffer penalties for repeated offenses. And turning to public safety, this week there were 3 auto pedestrian incidences within days of each other, and last Saturday, in one instance, a man lost his life. And on Thursday afternoon, a car careened into a crowd of GovGuam workers taking care of a tree outside Benavente Middle School in Dedito. The workers, however, included Dedito Mayor Melissa Savares, who sustained injuries and was among 5 in the group who were taken to the hospital.
We were here for a site inspection with Department of Education, the administration from BMS, and the mayor's office. So Mayor Savares and her team. And we were all on the sidewalk looking up, doing an inspection when the railing started to shake. And we looked down and noticed it was moving away from us. And when we looked up to our left, we noticed that this car racing down the sidewalk. But yeah, there were about five of our team, of the group that were hit by the driver. So the immediate response was everybody's conscious, everybody okay. Relay that to dispatch and request for support.
And we'll touch briefly on the big game that took place Monday Guam time between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With Super Bowl vet Tom Brady leading Tampa Bay, the Chiefs were creamed 9-31. And in our neck of the woods, our team at KUAM was pumped up for the big game, or maybe that was just the food.
Hey, I brought my old portable, I call it a Big Red, and here we go. I can smell the Jack Daniels. So what they had me do, our friend Kimmy, had me do like a Jack Daniels marinade. So I did a Jack Daniels short rib. There's like a cup of Jack Daniels in there and a whole bunch of stuff. And then I did some pork belly with Jack Daniels and apple cider vinegar and a little bit of garlic. So we already tested the smoked meat. And then we have Double D's famous Tanala here. This is the spicy one. It's freaking, man, it's freaking man.
Be sure to check out the KUAM YouTube page to catch the rest of our team's coverage of the game and some recipes you'll need to try for yourself. Till next time, adios.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
It makes myself and it makes my team members very proud to work for an organization that has been on island for many years, with its focus on reliability, dependability, and commitment to the communities that they operate in.
Matson's a great corporate citizen to the community.
We all benefit from any sort of environmental commitment we make. One of the ways that we do that is with our Adahi Utano program. There's action behind it, and so action breeds commitment.
With the Kaimana Hila coming to Guam, this brings a new age and modernization to the island.
It's exciting for me because it's a brand new ship and we can carry more freight into the islands. It just shows growth for Guam and Micronesia.
Matson would be nothing without its customers, and we hope to continue to serve you for decades to come.
Dave Delgado here with Frank the Crank Camacho and Matt Scroll from Guam Time. We're here to talk about how you guys are looking to help out with the Guam Coalition. Now, homeless awareness is something that, you know, not too many people know about the statistics, but you guys wanted to do something to raise funds and have more people chime in on what's going on here on the island.
What happened was I just remember going for a run, right? Just your typical run, but I really had no endpoint. I was like, you know, I'm gonna go for this run. Usually I would say I'll run from Adelup to wherever, right? To yeah, and back. But I just kept running. So it was cool because, you know, I was running for like 2 hours and I was like, man, this feels like the scene out of Forrest Gump. Remember when Forrest Gump just started running? And I just kept running. And then I was just like, you know, I'm a huge fan of David Goggins, you know, ultra marathon runner. And there's a lot of other guys out there, Cameron Haynes, and yeah, spectacular human beings, you know. And I was like, you know, I want to try something that I want to challenge myself, not only physically, but mentally. So I was like, man, I wonder how many miles I can clock in 24 hours. And then, you know, during this time, I ran into an interview on the link with Chris and Sabrina with this homeless veteran. And it was crazy because all the misconceptions and all the myths that I had in my mind when it came to homelessness, especially here on Guam, it was like, whoa, it was so mind-blowing. You know, it just made me think about homelessness with a different lens. So I just thought to myself, hey, might as well go for, you know, I could kill two birds with one stone, do this 24-hour trek, you know, around Guam, or yeah, across Guam, and why not for a good cause, So, you know, I hooked up with the Guam Homeless Coalition. And then I was like, you know what? Like, promotions and all this stuff is definitely not my thing. I know a guy, and I know he's down to freaking do this thing with me. So I hit up my boy Matt Scrove with Guam Time, and it just took one call. Next thing you know, and it was Matt. It was only like a short time, like 2 weeks, really. You know what I mean? Of when we had the call to, hey, okay, we're doing this. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's honestly, my expectations were definitely way exceeded with the amount of community support, you know, not only from just the donors, not even just from the cool, positive messages that we've been getting, not even from the amount of light, positive light that we're getting from from media, you know, but from our sponsors, you know, for these donors for the event. It's just mind-blowing. It's really, really cool to see people come together and for such an amazing cause.
Well, man, let's talk about the numbers and you know, how people can donate. And you talked about it before, when you see people at the intersections with the sign, you're hesitant to give money, but there's other ways you can help out without it being monetary.
You know, I think that was something that opened up both Frank and myself eyes when we were throughout this whole process learning more from the Guam Homeless Coalition. Is, you know, a lot of people, they want to help, they just, one, don't know how, and two, they're worried that if they give, you know, money, where exactly is that money going to? You know, that's one thing. So something that we would highly encourage everyone, that, you know, people donate clothes and food, and that's great. But one thing that people may not consider of donating is hygiene supplies. So whether you see people on the road, you know, at the street lights, or, you know, camped out somewhere, or if you want to donate to the Salvation Army or the Guam Homeless Coalition, one thing we would really recommend is hygiene supplies. I mean, think about it. Majority of people that donate or give a couple bucks out on the streets is like, you know, everywhere from $5, $10, if you're really gracious, $20. But if you go to any grocery store, just buy body soap, shampoo, and a bar of soap. Just that alone. How much is that equivalent to? So if you're a homeless person, you get $5, you want to buy that stuff, but really you're going to use it for something you really need, like food and water. So this is something that kind of gets neglected, and maybe people just don't know. So one thing we would highly recommend is if you see someone on the side of the road or leading up to this event or after this event, think more about hygiene supplies. And you could definitely donate food or drinks. It doesn't always have to be money. I think a big thing that we also learned during this process is the ethnicity for everyone that's homeless on Guam, the ages of people that are homeless on Guam. Something that hit close to home for me, and I know it hit home for a lot of you who have kids, but there's a huge percentage of those that are homeless that are ages from birth to 5 years old. So imagine, like, you know, not only being that child, but that family trying to provide. So what we're trying to say is, you know, think twice when you do see someone homeless, and, you know, don't just let the misconceptions of what you may know and don't know. So, you know, I highly recommend everyone heads to guamtime.net. That is where you can donate online. But this morning we did add a lot of these statistics that you could read over right under where the donation bar is. So if you just want to learn more, simply go there or visit the Guam Homeless Coalition's Facebook page.
To add to that too, you know, when we think of homelessness, right? You know, we see people on the side of the road, you know, asking for money or for whatever it is. There's a huge percentage of homelessness that we don't see, you know, and there's a huge percentage of homelessness that you know, that probably are too mamalo sometimes to ask, you know, or are still seeking assistance. And that's why I chose to go with the Guam Homeless Coalition and to have the proceeds go to the Guam Homeless Coalition, because, man, these guys and all their partners are on the ground. They see everything going on, you know, they have necessities. They're dealing in one with a lot of the people that are in need. So you know, I think that is, you know, that is a real I'm like so glad that, you know, Matt and I were able to connect with them, and shout out to the Guam Homeless Coalition and Samantha, you know, for all the help and assistance. You know, this is just 24 hours, you know what I mean? Yes, we're just going to be walking and running and whatever for 24 hours, but people are really going through this on the daily. And, you know, may we continue to just spread awareness and, you know, not only educate ourselves, but, you know, educate other people.
How do you dare? You chip away at what's been built because you can do better. How do you dare? You chase away wrongs to make room for what's right. You. How do you dare? You stand while they sit and scream when they are silent. You combine your strengths to reject their weakness. You step up, stand out, and shape a new point of view. How do you dare? This is how you dare. Introducing the all-new Elantra.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shoutouts from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Weekends are always great times for happy birthday. So, happy birthday on Saturday the 13th to Evelino Kainoa Jose, otherwise known as Noah, whose mommy and daddy say they love you, and happy birthday, Noah. Robert Wolford, he loves unconditionally, gives with heart, and every day is a blessing with you, Dad. Viva cumpleaños, Robert Wolford. We love you. Cheers to an abundance of blessings from Jacob, Mia, and the family. And on Sunday, February 14th, happy birthday to Maya Kabuag. Happy birthday number 13 to our special girl. You're growing into such a lovely young lady so quickly right before our very eyes. We admire the person you're becoming so much. With lots of love from Mama Bren, Daddy, Mommy, Mama Ida, Ray, Ashley, Nolan, Cyril, Kian, Camden, Calix, all your aunts, uncles, cousins, and the rest of the family. Woo! Happy birthday. Christine Roberta Lujan celebrating you today, Chris. Happy birthday to this beauty and all your friends and family. Say we love you, which of course includes us on KUAM. We miss you, Chris. and Kaylee Nicole Pivnaula. She is forever our Valentine. Happy birthday to our beautiful princess. We love you.
Remember, you can be part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online at KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and birth date. That's all the time we have from all of us here at Guam's News Network. Thanks for watching and have a safe